Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win, you find a way to lose. One thing for sure, Eddie Hearn is not looking to lose any money at all. Now, we know he's been investing big time into the 140-pound division, 135-pound division. But he's made a pretty large, I'd say a substantial investment in boot centers. When you just look at boxing and where we are today, there's a lot of guys who've been around for a while, and they're on the way out. So Eddie wants to lock down who's probably the guy who's projected to be the next big star in boxing, and it happens to be boot centers. But one thing for sure is Eddie's not going to put boot centers in harm's way against Terrence Crawford or anyone else that he feels maybe is just too much of a risk, and he didn't really get the return on his investment that he wanted yet. But hey, don't take my word for it. When Eddie Hearn comes out here and he says that guys like Jerome Boots Ennis, the plan is for him to just unify titles in the welterweight division before even thinking about moving up to junior middleweight to face somebody like Terrence Crawford. Now, to unify titles and becoming undisputed, there's two different things. But when I think about unifying, hell, he can go fight Barrios and beat Barrios. And now he's the IBF and WBC champion. But if we're going to talk about really becoming undisputed and unifying all the titles, well, I think that really helps with trying to negotiate a fight and also build up the fight for Boots against Crawford. Because now you got the current undisputed versus the former undisputed and blah, blah, blah. Y'all get the idea. But although, Boots got busy in front of his hometown crowd, I think Eddie Hearn may have seen some things where he's like, you know what, let's get him active and let's focus on what our goal is. And that's just picking up these titles. Because Eddie Hearn, in case you guys have forgotten, he understands the importance of titles. You saw what he did with Anthony Joshua. The word on the street is, I keep hearing people say 5 million. I heard somebody say 14 million. I know that's bullshit. But when AJ fought Charles Martin, I think it was more around 8 million that Charles Martin got for that AJ fight. And he basically sold the belt. You know what I'm saying? But since then, look how much money Eddie Hearn's made with AJ as a result of AJ having that belt and picking up a few more along the way. So belts matter in boxing. Eddie Hearn knows that better than anyone else. So now that I'm thinking about it, I can definitely see Eddie Hearn looking for the next opponent to be a champion at 147. Now, I don't think it's going to be Brian Norman Jr. I think Eddie Hearn is going to find a way to put some money in Stanley Eunice or Barrios' pocket. Because the reality is, Eddie Hearn doesn't want to overpay anybody. But he may, with Turkey Al-Sheikh's backing, you may see him put up some money and give guys a life-changing payday just so Boots can alleviate that belt off of them. And then now he can go on to try to pick up the next two. But we have to wait and see. There's a lot going on, man. And my thing is, I like Turkey Al-Sheikh being involved in boxing, but he seems like he can create distractions. You know what I'm saying? And you gotta excuse my voice. I lost my voice today at the basketball games, out there shouting and acting crazy. But anyway, it just seems to me like Turkey Al-Sheikh just throws so much at a person to where it makes it hard for them to make a decision. You know what I'm saying? But nonetheless, I think if Eddie Hearn, when it comes to Jerome Boots Ennis, I think he'll try to make Jerome Boots Ennis fights at home right there in Philly. Because you got to understand, man, when you're putting damn near 15,000 butts in seats, you know what I'm saying? That makes for a huge live gate. And as long as Boots keeps fighting and winning, I mean, the crowd is just going to become bigger and bigger and bigger. And as he goes into fights with bigger names in the sport. But that being said, Eddie Hearn's not going to take Boots right now and try to push him at 154, 160, and nothing like that. Even though I think Boots could probably clip Janibek Alam Kanuli. Because Alam Kanuli having weight issues and the man almost died trying to get down to 160. You just never know when that shit's going to show up in the ring. But I'd still think all those are high-risk fights for Boots, and those are risks that Eddie Hearn doesn't want to take. I think Boots should do just like they're planning and focus on 147. But I'm going to tell you right now, that Brian Norman Jr., that may be the fight to really pay attention to people for Jerome Boots Ennis. Because Brian Norman Jr., I personally think, just based on what I saw there against Santillan, he's a guy who can weather a storm, counterpunch you, comfortable in the pocket, has speed and power. He's a guy I think can get Barrios issues. I think he has Stanley Unis issues. So I don't think Brian Norman Jr., I think he'd be the last champion for them to go after. I don't think he'd be up next. So it is what it is. But right now, Hearn is just going to keep building Boots' profile and just turning him into what he likes to call a quality fighter. That way the TV deals can come, the endorsement deals can come, the sponsorship deals can come, and everything else kind of like with Anthony Joshua. And I think Boots is really in a good space. We'll see if Shakur Stevenson ends up over there, but I just have a feeling Eddie Hearn is still young. He's got a good sense of humor. He understands these guys. He's from the UK. And I just think the mentality is different, And I could tell you that me coming from a West Indian background, I tend to do really good with guys from out in the UK. I do good with anybody. But sense of humor and shit is pretty similar. And from my experience, they should have the mind is definitely more open because of just how diverse it is over there culturally. And there's so much West Indian influence in British culture. So I think with this generation of boxers, I think Eddie Hearn has a good connect. He's able to connect with those younger guys. But hey, as long as he keeps doing what he's doing and getting older, he's gonna be like Bob Arum at some point in time and shit where he ain't gonna understand the young generation. But right now, Eddie Hearn, I think there's no other promoter that would have been better suited for a guy like Jerome Ennis than Eddie Hearn. But let's see what Eddie Hearn does, because he says, hey, we had a great experience out here in the East Coast in Philly, and the next time we bring him back, it's going to be a bigger test. We expect a bigger crowd, bigger paydays, just everything bigger for Boots Ennis, because he says Boots is a star. So let's see if Eddie Hearn can really turn him into it, because we know Jerome Boots Ennis has the work ethic, has the right support, and he has the right mentality. Anyway, I still don't think Eddie Hearn is willing to risk his investment and do something stupid and throw Jerome Boots Ennis in a fight Not just yet with a guy like Crawford. But we'll see what the future holds. Y'all keep cool. I'm in the breeze.